Hey, welcome to day number 12 of 21 Days of Prayer for Your Business. If you have got your book, go grab it. We're going to review your notes and the homework that you did throughout the book. If you don't have the book, it's okay. Go grab a notebook and pen. If this is your first video, I like to get totally nosy-rosy and get all up in your business. But in all seriousness, we just want you to really apply this to your life. We don't want you to just sit here and hear stories of things that we've walked through, because we share a lot of those and we're open and honest about it. But we want you to apply this to your specific life, the things that you've gone through. I'm going to take off this big battery. First, I have been so distracted. Just to let you know, this is like take number 2. It's the first time that we've done take number 2. I don't know what was up with that, but I was like so super distracted. But I'm going to stay on course this time. Mark my word. Okay. Are you ready to dive into day 12? Ready. He's like, for the love, Monique, do not start this again. If you've not gone through the other videos, I just want to kind of make reference to one thing really quick. The title is 21 Days of Prayer for Your Business. This can be about anything in your life. It could be parenting, relationships, but most importantly, a lot of times, because it is 21 days, sometimes people get hung up on, a chapter or two, and they kind of feel like it takes them a few days to go through it because it's deep. Like one of them is finding freedom from your past, and that's kind of a hard one because people, our past can kind of be rocky sometimes. And so I just want to encourage you, kind of go through it and look through the videos. If there's a topic that sticks out to you, just go to that video, watch that video. It's okay if you don't do these in order, and it's okay if you don't do it all in 21 days. I just want to encourage you just to take steps. It doesn't have to be all in a row. Okay, deal? Deal. Today we're talking all about building community, and this is so important just in life overall, not just business. This is about life. Community is important. Friendship, relationships are important in all aspects, just to have a healthy, thriving life. Last night we have a little group that meets up, and we hadn't met in a while actually, and it was really starting to bother Jeremiah that we hadn't met in a while. It's a little text group. We call them Good People, and we meet up, and we used to do it monthly, and then every once in a while, like quarterly was a good time frame, and we would just meet up and have dinner, go over to each other's houses, and we just hadn't connected in a while. And Jeremiah kept bugging in the text group like, hey guys, we need to get together, because community is so important.
When I first read the title of the chapter, when I opened the book today, I was like, I don't really like this one. But then I was like, wait a minute, yes I do like this one. I do like a group of people, and I like people I like and people I know that I don't like. You
kind of get uncomfortable around new people.
New people is a little harder, but like people that I'm friends with, I really, really enjoy hanging out with.
It feels more safe to you, probably. Yeah. If you haven't watched any of the other videos, Jared and I are a little bit different. I tend to be the one that's a little bit more like, hey, and Jared's just kind of like, a little even keel. And but what's funny is I feel like over the last few years, you have become such a people person. I really think that. And what's funny is that when you ever make that comment to people, they're like, what? You're not a people person? And he's like, well, I mean, not really. But I love that you find it super important to keep community, because as we're going to discuss, there's kind of safety in numbers. There's this... there really is. Well, let's just go ahead and let me go ahead and leave you with a verse really quick before we dive in. Put my glasses on. It's Hebrews 10:24 through 25. And let us consider how we may spur one another on towards love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. We also know the verse that, I'm just going to go ahead and give you this verse so you can write it down. Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so a friend sharpens a friend. So we know that it's important. We know that this meeting, but I mean, like here in the Bible, it specifically says, do not give up meeting together, encouraging one another. especially as more you see the day approaching. And I think it's just so vital. We just came out of a weird season of time, 2020, 2021, where people were a little isolated, just with, the stuff that was going on in the world, things shut down. And I think a lot of people felt that. They came out of it on the other side. Churches closed down, some workplaces closed down. A lot of people were working from home. Trips got canceled. And I think you kind of begin to see how it feels weird when you're isolated. I even make mention when you were sick in the hospital and you were in there for like 8 or 9 days, you couldn't have visitors. And you are, well, maybe this is a good example, like you do like being around people.
I don't like being by myself.
Yes, you don't like being by yourself. And I think that was super hard for you in the hospital. Like, not only were you super sick and not feeling well, and that's kind of scary dynamic, but then you were alone.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, we've just exited out of that period of time in that season. But like, that's something maybe to journal about and think about, like, how did that make you feel? I've had some people say that I've talked to, how that period of time, they liked the time that they had at home, being around their people and their close family and friends. And I think, well, that says something for itself too, because maybe that's, it allowed us to have that time with the people who are super important to us. However you look at it, community is important. Whether it's in, again, your business or your life. Going back to freedom, and interject whenever you want to, but going back to the chapter on freedom from your past, I tell in this chapter of the book a story about how probably about 13, 14, 15 years ago, we had a business and we actually didn't shut the business down. It actually, we sold it. Mm-hmm. We had 2 stores, one got shut down, and then the other one, we sold it off. And during that time frame, I just had a few relationships that I was just super hurt in the middle of it. Not to say that I didn't have any part to play in the being hurt, and that I was completely innocent, but in the situation, I really did have my feelings hurt, and it was super hard for me to even want to be friends again. I tell the story in the book of, like, at that time I told Jerry, I was like, I'm never going to be friends with another girl ever again a day in my life. It's just me and you. I'm not going to be friends. And we were going to a pretty large church at the time, and you were on staff, and they were big on small groups. And I even tried getting involved and getting into small groups, but I had so many insecurities revolving around that. Like, I did not want to build a community. And there was one day in particular at a women's conference that I really found freedom from that. And I prayed about it a lot of times in the past, and I think I've shared the story in a previous video, but there was something about that night that when I prayed, like, Lord, I'm releasing this and I want to walk in freedom, I then left and immediately saw my now best friend, who we went to school with, high school, together, but we had not really seen each other in forever. We weren't even crazy close in high school. And she just so happened to be at that women's conference. And I remember passing her in the hall and saying, hey, or it was actually a live recording concert that night after the women's conference. And I said, hey, do you want to start meeting once a week and let's just hang out? I want to make a point to start hanging out with some friends. And I reached out to 2 other girls that I had been in contact with right then, and we started meeting once a week. And so I prayed for freedom in this area and asked the Lord, that I'm handing this to you, but then I actually took action and asked some people to start meeting. And we were like totally into it every week, like we didn't miss a week. And those girls, when I was going through a hard time in February of 2013, wanting to give up on a dream that I was just starting to pursue, those were the girls that I reached out to and said, hey, I'm really having a rough day and I'm wanting to throw in the towel. Will you pray for me? And they specifically were like, yeah, we're going to pray for you. And they were given scriptures and they were like, that you were supposed to do this and all of this stuff. And it was beautiful to have that little community, and it was only of 3 people. It wasn't this big massive hundreds of people. It was very small. And so I think that's vital. And then that spurred it on into, you know, a new business, and one thing leads to another, and it kind of spirals, and there's so much more to the story. But it started with just stepping out and connecting. And so it's important. You are so great about staying in contact with these people. And when it's so easy, because everybody can get busy, to go, hey, we just need to carve out some time and let's meet together. It's just really important. Anything you want to interject before we go in? I'm going to read, I'm going to go ahead and read a little piece of, let me ask you this first to write in your notebook. Can you think of times where you've kind of put up some roadblocks and some barriers that kept you from building community? What would that be? Can you think of times when community was important to you, and when it helped you? Can you think of a time maybe when you were even an encouragement to someone else? Spend some time and write that out in your notebook. And then I want to read you the story that I put in the book. It says, don't stick to the sidelines. Encouragement comes in more ways than just one. Many times we think of encouragement as just helping someone through a hard time. While that is encouragement, we can also encourage others with the life we live. Yep, we can spur each other on towards love and good deeds as we embrace love and good deeds in our own lives. I recently watched a news report of an amazing way a teenage boy brought joy to a young little girl. These little girls who were cheerleaders were having a very special ceremony at halftime of a football game. Their fathers came out on the field and lifted each of them up on their shoulders, all except one little girl. Her father had just been stationed overseas and wasn't there. While all the dads stood there holding their little girls, this little girl begins to cry. It was too much for her to handle. She missed her daddy so much. Out of nowhere, a teenage boy sees what is happening. He's in the bleachers of this stadium. He is so shocked Noah's running to her side. He leaves the bleachers, jumps the fence, runs and scoops up the little girl and lifts her up on his shoulders. I was ugly face crying as I sat and watched this. His good deeds encouraged me. He encouraged me to be mindful of others. His good deed inspired me to not just sit on the sidelines of life observing, but to jump the fence and do something about it. Have you ever been inspired by the good deeds of others? And then I say, if so, share a few ways below. You know, it doesn't even have to be in the community of people that we're with, but like the things that we're watching and seeing. Or is there anything or any person that is spurring you along and is inspiring you in your own life of ways that you can step out and encourage others or even be better? You know, we have been talking a lot. Do you want to say this?
No, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I don't know what you're going to say.
Okay.
I do have something to say.
You know, we have been talking a lot about this little health and wellness journey that we're on, and the community is really important. Like, you go to the gym each day. Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, I was going to say, you know, I read through the chapter. You didn't really put a take on it of like accountability.
Yes.
And so I was going to say, like, community can be accountability. Like, I failed miserably when I try to go to the gym by myself. I just don't do it. But when I have my buddies waiting on me there, like I can do that. Like I'm like, okay, they're waiting on me, I have to get up and go.
Yeah.
And so it really is the secret to my success of going to the gym consistently is because I have people there waiting for me.
The gym that he goes to is how would you describe the gym that you go to? It's not like your typical gym. It's a lot of older men, retired people that are there. And honestly, it feels like a little Mayberry gym when I go. Like, everybody knows each other. Everybody knows each other.
It's like Cheers.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, I went like a time or two, and this one guy comes up to me, and he's like and I knew exactly who he was because Jeremiah talks about him all the time. And he was like, I was like, I know who you are, you know. And it's funny how that has built, that whole gym is such a community, and it is an encouragement to one another. As we've been walking through the Little Health Journey and following our numbers and stuff, there's like a community of people. Like the dinner that we went to last night, there's another couple there that do the same health coaching that we do. And I mean, you know, we were talking about our numbers, talking about our stats. Hey, do you do this? They've told us things that we could do to kind of better our sleep, and we've kind of embraced that and bought some stuff and used it and tried it. And I was telling them some things that we were doing with saunas and all of this and that. And so it's this time of like, we're better together. We learn from each other and we help each other out in whatever it is, especially business, relationships, journey, parenting. Oh my goodness. Like my friend Natalie, my girls have now recently just left home. They're married, have kids, and her kids are just now at the stage where they're leaving home. And we can have these conversations that I'm like, you know, look, you are at this major transition in your life where you're having to let go of some control and let your kids, like, they're at this age of independence, but they're also feeling this pressure of they're having to make their own decisions. And we can have these conversations because I'm a few years out of it, and it's easier for me on the outside to look back and go, oh, this were the things that we were facing, and we can have this conversation, and so we're better together. And she's the same way. She'll see things in our lives and the things and go, oh, well, you know, this is the way I look at it. She was telling me with Jeremiah the other day, I read something to her, and she was like, man, Monique, your husband is just so amazing. And we were talking about how his love language is physical touch. She's like, you just need to just put his, doesn't even have to be like in a sexual way. Just like put your hand on him, touch him, pat him, love him, you know. And she's always encouraging me like that within marriage. So it's super important.
Yeah, I was trying to think about like business specifically, and like there's I've gone, and I was just trying to think of like a very specific example. And I've gone to these like financial masterminds, and I learned so much. And you just sit like at a table with people that like are further along on the journey, and some are not. But it's like, you know, when you're in your area of expertise, or when you're in your business, you're kind of the expert. But it's fun to get around other people that are the experts in other things, and really like learn and glean, and it's like eye-opening, and just like the possibilities are endless when you can get around other people that are just like in a different area than yours. And I always just learn so much from doing that.
Yeah, you're great about, you really are so good about community. You really are. I mean, I've watched you in our previous business, you know, do things with the guys, the husbands, build team stuff there, how you're consistent with the gym, and even like the retreats, like you said, finding things that where people are a few steps ahead of you and surrounding yourself with those people to learn and to glean from. I think it's so important. And you definitely embrace that in your life. So I think that's something to point out.
And I dragged you along.
Yeah, he did. On the last one, he made me go to it. He was like, you need to go to this. And I actually really enjoyed it. There was a lot of stuff that was it was all about financial things. And there was some things that was way over my head. And there was some things like, man, I was like, that is phenomenal. And it was some things that were so simple, even things that would have been like, well, I kind of know these things, but it's just something about hearing it from someone different. One of the things that I took away, this guy was telling me he actually does the health coaching, or he's in the health coaching too. And there's some numbers that we measure, and he was talking about how there's this number that he's going for his HRV, and he had it on the front of his phone on the screensaver, on the bottom of his picture of his screensaver. And I was like, that's genius. And so I came home and I did the same thing. I put a number on the bottom of my screen, which, might I say, not only have I crushed that number and never thought I would crush that number, I've exceeded it by 10, which is pretty good.
You need to change the number on
I need to change. I did think about that I needed to change the number. But I mean, even something like that, just like his actions and how he was so intentional. He's like, I want to look at that every day to know and to remind myself that this is something that I'm going after. And I learned that from someone else. You know, sometimes I think pridefully, you know, at times like we got it all together, or more out of insecurity that we don't want to be around whatever, whether it's insecurity or pride or both. Sometimes we neglect to engage in that community, and it's just so vital. It's so important. So then I say that, what keeps you from community? Can you think of any times where you've been hurt, where, you know, you're like, I just kind of want to stand off, and ask the Lord to help you in that area. Ask the Lord to put people in your path that you can build that community with. And even if it's just one person, can I tell you, we're going through a unique season right now to where we just transitioned and we left a business that we had been with 10 years that was very relationally driven. And, so it's kind of like we are in this weird season of figuring it out and friendships and navigating all that. We're going to talk a little bit more tomorrow about navigating conflict. But my friend Natalie, who I will always talk about, you'll hear me talk about her all the time on here. She is just my constant. We talk every single day. There's just never a day that we don't talk. We make it a point. We're intentional. I mean, like, it's on my daily list. Like, we are going to talk every single day, and we just do it via voice text. We don't have to sit and talk for hours on the phone, but like every day, I mean, it is my morning. Hey, we sing good morning. Good morning. That's what we say. Today is going to be a great day. And sometimes we sing it to each other and we just act silly. But we stay in touch all throughout the day, just little snippets, and we listen to it when we can. But it's so vital. There was a sweet girl that messaged me, as we've been in the transition these last couple of years, and she probably from the outside looking in could see that maybe it was like a little lonely period for me. And she sends me a message that was so sweet, saying that she was praying for loneliness to lift in my life. And I thought that was so sweet. One, that she prayed. Two, that she sent me a message to say that. But I actually stopped and thought, I'm actually not lonely. Like, in a crazy weird way, I am not lonely, because I felt like we've got such a good relationship just with family. I'm constantly surrounded by family, with Natalie, and then we've got some other friends that we engage with and we stay in contact with. But I really truly did not feel lonely, and so I want to make sure that you understand that you can be in the midst of a big, massive community and feel loneliness, and you can be in the middle of just a few and feel no loneliness. The size of the group in the community really doesn't equate to filling up something in your life that's needed, if that makes sense. Some of the loneliest people I know are in the middle of a big, large group. I've talked to people who are authors, and who, if you knew them, you would think, gosh, they've got to have the most friends on the face of the planet and the most connections. But they'll tell you they may have a lot of people who know them, and they may know a lot of people, but they don't feel connected. They're missing that like super tight interaction with someone. And I think that really, even as we talk about building community, we really need to look at it as that, and not just this big, massive group of people. Again, I don't know if you want to chime in, but
well, I was just thinking through that too. Like, there's also a spiritual component there. Like,
yes,
those people probably aren't that connected to God either, and so they're feeling that kind of void in their life. So it's, you got people, you got God, and you, and it's sort of a triangular connection there.
Yeah, it's so important when you look at building community that you're surrounding yourselves with people. And I don't even think I discussed this in the book per se, but like, it's important that who you surround yourself with like builds you up and don't deplete you or tear you down.
Oh, we had a whole chapter on values, and so
yes,
it needs to be people
it needs to
are,
align.
Have similar values. And there's, in business, when you're going to a mastermind or something, you might not be there with people that have your like specific values, but there's an overall topic that you're kind of connecting on.
Yes.
But like, as far as your interpersonal relationships, those really need to be values driven.
Yeah, and I love that you said that about, like, it's honestly like what fills you. If you are getting your cup filled from people, it's probably a very dangerous place. It's the reason why it really needs to be filled with Jesus first and foremost, because people are always going to let you down. We talked about that before. Nobody's perfect, and you're not perfect. And if you get your value and your worth and kind of the warm and fuzzy feelings just from all of that, that is quickly can be taken away. from disappointments or whatnot. And so it's important that we're truly finding our security and our worth from who's most important. And one thing I've learned over the years too, just through a lot of ups and downs, is like family, and we're going to talk about this later, so I don't want to dive too much into this, but community, like the interaction with family, is so important, because really they're the ones who are there for the long haul. Not that everybody, not that other people are not around for the long haul, but you know, think about when you were in high school or junior high, you're around these friends and you think, I mean, you eat, sleep, I mean, it's like everything, like you're always around them. And you know, life moves on, and some of these people you never see again, but your family is your family. And many times they're the ones that stick so close through thick and thin. That's kind of hard to say. So that's really kind of all I have to say about the matter. I mean, it's important. It really is important.
And there's I like the connection on social media, but there's something different about just being really connected to somebody. So
yes,
I think there's a differentiation that should be made there between, you know, like your friends from high school, you might still see them on social media sometimes, but you don't really know them anymore, you know, and so you just need to have a group of people that you're connected to, like really connected to.
Yeah, and I think in the day, that's so good too. Social media of groups, of community groups, of Facebook groups, which are all great.
Mm-hmm.
They're all so great. And I think about my great, I mentioned her before in one of our videos. She lived with us a few years before she passed away, and she loved Facebook. And I think, man, what a great platform to have for her, who really didn't get out much or do whatever, but she was able to stay connected with so many people. After she passed away, I was at church and I ran into actually a girl that I'd gone to school with. And she just made mention, I had not seen this girl in forever, and she made mention about how much she enjoyed interacting with my great, and how my great would comment on her stuff or interact with her. And I didn't even know that my great interacted with her. And I was like, that's so phenomenal. So social media can be a great thing, but we need to make sure too that we have that one-on-one interaction. I just think it's so important. So okay, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of homework, and honestly, pray. I hope that during this time, as you are journaling, that you're also praying about these certain topics and situations. Like, Lord, I don't have someone in my life. You know, I often have people, because I think I must talk about Natalie often here in the book, because someone came up to me the other day, and after they met Natalie for the first time, and they were like, you're right, in the book you said everyone needs a Natalie in their life. And I was like, I said that in the book? And I'm like, that's so true, because they're like, they met her and they're like, she's amazing. I'm like, yes. And so I would say, pray to have that. Pray and ask the Lord to send a person to you that can be that Natalie, and that you can be a Natalie to someone else. You can be a friend that's just a constant encouragement. So that's a way to pray. I'm going to repeat those verses one more time that you can meditate, memorize. Hebrews 10:24 through 25, and the iron sharpens iron is Proverbs 27:17. And I encourage you, another little bit of homework to do is to think of someone that you love so much and that you haven't been around maybe, and that you haven't connected with a while, and shoot them a text and say, hey, let's get together. And don't just say, hey, we need to set a time to get together. Like, put it on the calendar. Go, you know how the conversation typically goes. Hey, we need to get together. We need to do lunch. Okay, yeah, we need to do lunch. Cricket, like, set a date.
Be annoying like me, because I'll be like, how about Tuesday at 7?
And that's what he did. He kept saying in this text group, like, we need to get together, and it would be like, yeah, we need to get together. So, okay, it's gonna be this date at this time. I'm calling to make reservations. How many people am I making a reservation for? And I'm like, dude, Jerry, you were intense.
Yep.
So I encourage you to do that. Find someone, send a text, set up a time. Whether it's a sister, a family member, a friend, whatever it is, build time for community. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow we are talking about surviving conflict.
Bum, bum, bum.
Insert dramatic music. Conflict happens. Junk happens.
Yep.
Junk can happen, and we're going to go there tomorrow and talk about how you can survive it. So I'm handing it over to Jeremiah to do what he does best, to encourage you to stay connected to YouTube here.
All right. If you like this video or you just didn't hate it, give us a big thumbs up, and it would really help us if you would subscribe to our channel and maybe tell a friend. They might want to check these videos out. Yeah, sure. And if you're like me and you want to be in the know about all the things when the videos post, hit that notification bell, get all the notifications. Boom.
Yes. All right, so that's all for today. Hope you're enjoying these videos, and we will see you in the next one about surviving conflict. Dramatic music.
Bum, bum, bum.
Okay, bye.